Oh, night class, Thursday night. Alex, Matt, Joe, Candy, Charlie. You guys here? Charlie, where are you, Charlie? Charlie, stand up. Oh, you are standing up. I'm sorry. And Tony. Welcome back. What's that, Tony? Pizza and chicken wings for tonight? All right. All right, if you notice this car, you recognize this car? You guys put a lot of time into it. A little chubby leprechaun came in and kind of finished it up here. But of course, in doing that, we discovered there's a rust hole in here. Yeah. All right, we're going to fix that right now. Now, as we talked last time, there's a couple different ways I can fix this. I can use that fiberfill and just fill the hole. But in this particular floor here, the battery sits right there. So I'm going to want this a bit stronger. So I'm going to put some sheet metal on there. But there's a couple different ways I can put the sheet metal on there. I can make a little piece, put it on there, and I can put some pop rivets, and I can put some screws in it. But the pros and cons to that is, even though it may be faster, you can imagine what that's going to look like underneath with screws sticking through, screw heads on the top. Bogus, that ain't going to look good. So we're going to do something different today. We are going to panel bond, or as we say, glue it in the industry here. All right, first thing we got to do is get a piece of sheet metal. You recognize this, these coupons. It's a 22 gauge piece of sheet metal. I don't need anything thicker than this. We're not going to make it bulletproof. Next thing I do is I take and I use some like a self-etch primer or some kind of a zinc coating on here so it's well protected. Now I cut it up there so I have a piece of metal that's going to fit right over my hole. The next product I'm going to be using is, of course, the 3M panel bond adhesive. Now there's different products that do exactly the same thing on the market today. I like the 3M one for different reasons. They all do the same thing, but one thing that's very different, they always have some sort of a work time, a clamp time, and a cure time. The 3M one here is an hour and a half of work time, which means it stays soft and you got a little time to play with it, which is not a big deal for a small hole, but if you can imagine trying to do a door skin or a quarter panel, I'm going to need more time. All right, the clamp time or set time, you get a little bit more time to play with it. You can screw it down or you can clamp it and it still will move a little bit, but you can't do much more than that. And of course, there's always cure time. And the 3M product is 24 hours. Now you can speed all of this up by using a heat gun, or if your temperature in here is about 70 or 80 degrees. Now if it's colder, it's going to take longer. That's what I like to use in this particular product. Now after you have your sheet metal, what I like to do is you got to go bare metal around the edges. I go approximately 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch. And you have to do the same around the hole. Now I can't get it all bare metal, there's going to be some rust on there, but the glue really bites in there. Now, what I like about the glue, very, very strong. Sometimes it's too strong. That's why manufacturers don't want you to be using this on structural panels. Because as you know, unibodies are made to absorb energy. And if you put your structural panels on there too strong, if you get into another accident, the energy will go differently through the car, and it won't crush and absorb energy the way the manufacturer wanted. The best way I describe it on a unibody is like taking a brick and throwing it up against the wall as hard as you can. You're going to have damage on the wall, you're going to have damage on the brick. But if you took a sponge and you throw it up against the wall, it absorbs the energy and you won't have as much damage. All right, so the 3M product, what I like to do is I'm going to be about ready to glue this here. The first thing we do, I already have this one in the gun. Before we put the tip on, I want to make sure when you squeeze it that you're seeing both colors come out. It's a 2 parts epoxy. At that point is when you could use the mixing tip. I'm going to use this style here. It mixes a bit more. All right. So here's my piece here that I made for that. And as you can see, I made bare metal around there. You got got to be in bare metal because you want it to adhere to it like a Velcro. If you put it on a primer or something, if the primer releases off the metal, so will your glue. So now I squeeze this up with my fancy dancy gun here. And the very first thing to do is you kind of waste the very ½ inch to an inch, no more. And then I put on a bead around here. Take my spreader, and then basically I'm painting. All the bare metal has to be covered. All the way covered. Okay, now I do the same thing around the hole. You come over here, I'm going to just squish a whole bunch around the hole the best I can. And basically I'm painting the metal is a way you could look at it. Get it all on there. It's okay. Okay, then I'm going to spread it around here and make sure all the metal and the rust is either painted or have got some kind of product on here. It'll bite. When this stuff is really hard and it's set up, it's like ceramic. Okay, so we have all the metal covered with the panel bond, and we have our piece that we're going to put on is covered with panel bond. Lastly, we put one more bead on here. So it's painted, one more bead, just painted. And now we fit this on here. And I squish it all down so it fits in there really good. Now, because it's flat, I don't have to worry about screwing it or anything. So the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a bead along my edge. And that covers up my edge. And it's a little easier to sand if I needed to. I'm going to spread that out. This time I'm going to use my finger because I have just a little bit more control with my finger. Spread it around. Again, I don't have to worry about screwing it down because it's going to sit there. Now, if this was a metal patch on the side of a car, I may want to put a couple screws in it just to hold it in place. After it sets up, you can take the screws out, add some more panel bond, or you could use some of the fiber fill. All right, I think that's about all we need to discuss. Again, we thank you for all your work on this car. Tony appreciates it. All right, I'm going to be sending you a test of what I said. So watch this video 10 times.